question from Bueller. That's at Boyle and Herbie. How many, if any, will we see first-round picks traded before or during the draft? Are teams reluctant to give up that fifth year of control, or maybe not seeing the value of future picks that they thought they would receive? Thank you. Thank you for the question, Bueller. As I see this right now, I think more of the lack of trades coming at the top of the draft are about the way that the board sets up for most teams and logistically what we're looking at. The first piece of this is at the very top of the draft trades that happen before the draft, usually they involve quarterbacks. And generally, if you get outside the first couple of picks, those picks are not traded before the draft. The reason why, you don't know exactly how things are going to play out. So you'll create contingencies and come to agreed deals if certain scenarios play out. So those sorts of phone calls will happen next week where teams might set up like, hey, if our guy is there at 5, at 6, at 7, we may be willing to come up and make a deal with you. So the logistics of those things generally are done ahead of time, but the trades aren't pushed over the goal line because, again, you don't know what's going to happen. If there are picks traded before the draft, those, again, outside of the top 2 or 3 picks, generally those are trades that happen a year ahead of time. So I don't anticipate the second or third picks being traded. For one, because there's no quarterback, I think, that's going to prompt a move up. You have Cam Ward going first overall. Tennessee needs a quarterback, so that pick's not being traded. And then at 2 and 3, again, like I don't know that teams value Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart or anybody else in this quarterback draft class worthy of going up for. I get the question after that would be whether or not teams look at Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter in that sort of way. And I don't know if that sort of trade is going to happen either, but for a different reason. I think the reason why, if you look at where the Giants are, where the Browns are at 3 and 2, is because if they're trading down to 5 or 6 or 7, that could be the equivalent of trading down to 15 or 20 a year ago. So it feels to me at least like the chalk is probably going to be what plays out here. Again, if you want Travis Hunter, are you going to have to pay a quarterback premium to go up and get him? And not because it's the second pick, but because if you're picking 5th or 6th or 7th, if the Browns value that like they would the 15th or 20th pick, they're going to be looking for that sort of return. And a team may not be willing to go up and give that sort of return for a player who's not a quarterback. So, I'd say you look at 2 in all likelihood, Travis Hunter to the Browns. 3, the Giants with Abdul Carter. There are certainly some questions on Carter, some character questions that I don't think are killers. I think just kind of how he's come off a little bit, but I think that stuff is fine for the most part. Then the bigger question with Carter would be the medical question, which is an important one here. He has shoulder and foot injuries that he's dealt with over the last year. He doesn't need surgery on either of those, but they are things that he may need to have repaired down the line. And then there's the factor of his lean body mass, which is low. That can be a predictor for injuries, which is a problem for some teams. Again, I think the likelihood is that the chalk plays out here. You have Hunter going 2, you have Carter going 3, and then you get to the 4th overall pick, and the question becomes with a New England at 4, a Jacksonville at 5, a Vegas at 6, what is somebody coming up for? Because again, if you look at the guy who goes 4th or 5th or 6th as maybe the 15th or 20th pick in another draft, teams may not be motivated to go up and get that guy. And I think there is a clump of guys there where the difference between 4 and 14 or 5 and 20 might not be very different. So I just don't see what the motivator is going to be here for a team to jump up and give up a lot of capital and give up capital on day 2 of the draft, which might be the strength of this year's draft, where you can get starters in the 2nd, 3rd, and even into the 4th round. Like, I don't see teams giving up that capital to move up in a first round that isn't very strong. Now, where the movement could happen is once you get on the back half of the first round. So you get down to 15, to 16, to 17, to 18. You get into that sort of range now, and maybe the tackles are running low. Maybe the first tier of edge rushers are running low. And that's where I think you can see a move up. Corners. There aren't a lot of great corners in this year's draft. Does somebody move up for a corner? So I think when we get there into the middle of the first round, you could see teams move up. And then at the bottom of the first round, it could be for the quarterbacks. I think most teams have Pittsburgh there circled at 21 is when the quarterback market could start up again. particularly if none of the quarterbacks are picked between 1 and 21. So do you see some movement in that range? Could a team like the Rams at 26 be looking at a quarterback of the future? That could prompt some movement at the bottom of the first round. But I think as far as the top 10 picks, it wouldn't surprise me if that stays completely static on draft night.